This kind of love. It is something that we all dream about, isn't it? For as long as we're alive, we long for and we strive to demonstrate and experience, this aspect of divine love that can rock our world, that can shake things up, that when it is present and when it is full and when it is abundant, it heals all that need to be healed, it reveals all that needs to be revealed, and it is in fact this amazing essence of life that is like nothing else. When we try to pull this from the world of the limited, when we try to pull this from the human self, we can come up short, can we not? We have so many examples in life, and there are so many ways to see or ways to validate that life and humanity can come up short of divine love. Maybe part of that is because there is an awakening happening now, but it has not always been known that we are here to emanate and radiate it, not just to look for it and to try to pull it from somewhere else, but to become it and to offer it. That we are here as that aspect of God consciousness in action to activate and source that love. That it is in fact the fabric of our being. It's not limited to the male or to the female, to the adult or to the child. In fact, love is what we are. So when we go around pining for it, when we go around looking for it, but we're not like a tuning fork activating it, radiating it, we can wake up to not feeling it. We can experience something that's other than that divine love. Have you ever been loved so unconditionally, so completely by someone in all of your rawness, in all of who you are, that a healing has happened, that an awakening has happened? Maybe it's something that no one else could presence for you. Maybe it's something that no one else could stand with you in or stand you when you're in it. But when you're in the presence of unconditional and absolute love, when you're in the presence of that divine feminine energy that's made manifest through humanity, all sorts of healings take place. That's why we practice non-resistance, even with physical ailments or physical ills. Myrtle Fillmore, the mother of unity, demonstrated that a physical ill is not healed by saying to the body and saying to the temple, "Damn you." That's what happens, isn't it? That's what happens. The carnal mind consciousness says, ooh, cut it off, get it out, ooh, push it away. Whatever I have to do, let me get this away. But the mother of unity said, oh, there's a different idea. There's a different idea. And it grabbed a hold of her consciousness. It grabbed a hold of her full being. And she began to say to every little cell, every little muscle, every tissue, every tendon, every atom, every aspect of her body, you are love. I see that love. Well done. Come in, perfect life. And she began to affirm the life-giving energy in every cell. She saw beyond the illusion. Isn't that what the divine feminine does? It sees beyond the illusion. It sees beyond how someone shows up. And it says, I know who you are. I know who you are. And I know whose you are. And I wouldn't dare tell you that you are anything less than whole. I wouldn't dare tell you you're anything less than beautiful, because when I do, I miss the mark. I miss the mark. That's the term, the scriptural term for sin. Sin is an archery term that just means I missed the mark. I missed the mark. So we're all here to demonstrate this high consciousness of love of the divine feminine. What does it look like? What does it look like? What does it look like as God consciousness? I think it looks like that kind of love, that kind of energy that comes to you. That even if you back away, even if you shut down, it's that kind that arrives at your door anyway. that no matter when, no matter where you are, no matter what's going on, it arrives. It's that kind of love. I think it's the kind that knows you. Those moments in life where you authentically feel something must have known me so well to set this up. Something. I am somehow so known in this expansive universe, so known that it brought me this moment, this person, this experience, this essence, this feeling, the feeling of being known. I believe it's that unconditional energy that whether or not we feel like we've earned it, whether or not we feel like we deserve it, it's there. I always refer to that saying, the sun shines for everyone. It's that idea that it's not going to just shine for you if you're good as far as the world thinks. It's not going to shine for you if you think you earned it. It just shines because it is. It just shines because it is. What does this love look like in the human form? In its highest human form, it looks like people being there when you need them. It looks like divine timing. It looks like those things that you couldn't have set up if you wanted to. The time that you're thinking, oh, something needs to come from this place, this person, and all of a sudden the universe rushes in and says, oh, sweet love, oh, my beloved, here it is. Here it is. Look this way. It's that kind of human love that makes you feel known, that makes you feel seen, that knows your heart, that nourishes and nurtures you. And it's that unwavering love, not based on whether we have the energy, the ability, or whether the conditions are right to love. It is that unwavering love that doesn't show up to get something, that doesn't show up with expectations. It simply shows up. There's a funny little forward kind of that's been going around, and it's on a Stanford professor that it does some research on disease and health and relationships. And he's known for beginning his course with letting the students know that they say, one of the healthiest things men can do is be with a woman. And one of the healthiest things that women can do for their self and their biology, their health, their wellness, is have a bunch of female friends. And it's gotten a lot of attention. But the reason he cites in the conversation around this doesn't really have to do with masculine and feminine or male and female. It has to do with a type of deep connection. What happens when you're known? It says that a lot of male activities, a lot of men's activities are based around activities, based around getting together, around something to do. But a lot of women's are based on this core connection of being present for each other, of supporting each other, of learning each other so deeply that they give these spiritual gifts, they give these gifts of love at all the right times. Has anyone had a woman in their life like that? Or many women? I wrote this song one time. It's called Not Your Normal Love Song. And it's this whole tribute to the women who hold our hands. There's something emerging today in our culture. It's the emergence of the divine feminine as a power-filled, invisible force again. It hasn't been forever that the masculine energy has been in charge of the global planet, the global consciousness. There are ages and ages where the divine feminine was actually the leader consciousness for humanity. And here's the key to where I think we are. I think we're at a tipping point where this divine feminine energy, call it the divine mother, Mother Mary, call it the divine feminine, call it whatever we want to call it. But it is that aspect of God, that aspect of God consciousness that cannot be and will not be denied. If we only learn about, embody, and share that masculine aspect of God, which in unity we talk about God as law, God as fixed law, that the law of mind action, if I then this, that strength, that impersonal, that, God is not a man up in a tree or a man on a cloud going, yes, wish granted, yes, wish granted. No, that God is a constant yes. It's just a yes. It's a yes. You align, you create, yes. Here's the answer. But without the divine feminine aspect of God, which is fairly literally been ripped out of Scripture, you can do a crosswalk. You can go to Crosswalk or one of those Bible websites, and you can actually now, with this is really cool because you couldn't do this before. You can put in the word him or his, and you can see how many times it comes up in Scripture. And it's all over the place. And then you can put in her, she, and you can see how many times it comes up. Well, that's not the origins. We know that that's not the origins. Jesus, the master teacher, had women all over that were leading, that were awakened, that were aware, that were conscious. In spiritual traditions throughout time, the feminine has been valued and honored. But until we understand the full aspect of God, the yin and the yang of God consciousness, the yin and the yang within each of us, and recognize that this has absolutely nothing to do with gender, we will be selling ourselves short. We will arrive in our humanity with only half of our divinity. Because anyone that knows another soul on this planet knows that they are only blessed, not harmed, by embracing both qualities within them. Both qualities within them. It is such an amazing honor to be a part of this spiritual movement of unity because, one, unity has a long history of honoring the feminine. Unity leaders were notoriously women. Myrtle Fillmore was truly the spiritual founder of unity. Charles documented, explored, and scientifically showed to prove what she was demonstrating and said, if I can see it there, if my wife, my beloved, has done it, there must be some way I can then myself mother and source humanity by offering it to others. And so he documented it, he researched it, he studied it, and he prospered it, and he shared it, and he sourced it, awakening the divine feminine within him. The other piece of it being such an amazing blessing to be part of this movement is that this is a movement that has a history of men who have a highly, highly, highly evolved divine feminine. A highly evolved divine feminine. Men who are going to lead our humanity, our nation, our world, our consciousness forward, opening the heart to all men. To all men who, if they go by the limits of the human condition, if they go by the rules of society, if they go by what they may have inherited or been taught, they will be seriously deprived of the depth of their spiritual nature and seriously deprived of the amazing capacity of their human nature. But our amazing men in unity have demonstrated that to be fully masculine, you also become completely in touch with your divine feminine. And you begin to embody and share as God consciousness from that balance. So namaste. When we deprive humanity of the divine feminine balanced with the divine masculine aspect of God, we deprive ourselves of everything. In Proverbs 3:13, I share one of my very, very favorite passages. Blessed are those who find wisdom. And if you know a little history, wisdom is the lady in the Bible. It's Lady Wisdom. Like you could see that maybe in some of those edits that they decided to take out the she and they're like, let's just call it wisdom. Let's just call it wisdom. But that's the feminine. Blessed are those who find wisdom, those who gain understanding, for she is more profitable than silver and yields better returns than gold. She is more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand, and in her left are riches and honor. Her ways are pleasant ways, and her paths are paths of peace. She is a tree of life to those who take hold of her. To those who hold her fast will be blessed. By wisdom the Lord laid the earth's foundations. By understanding set the heavens in place. By knowledge the watery depths were divided, and the clouds let drop the dew. Wisdom. Myrtle Fillmore, in How to Let God Help You, said, instead of praying for more, let us ask for wisdom to use what we already have. We shall find that we are now much richer in all ways than we had thought. Do we believe that's true? That there is so much here, so much present, that in fact, what we're praying for sometimes when we pray to this external God, what we're praying for and hoping for is something that we are fully 100% capable of right now. Fully capable of right now. God is unchangeable. God is absolute. God is consciousness. Always available, everywhere present. In a moment, it is ours to awaken that consciousness and to prove, like Charles Fillmore said, prove me now, show me now, to prove its activity. So we are here to demonstrate this truth. We're here to activate it and to demonstrate it. And what will this look like? What has it looked like? Well, I want to share with you a teeny bit of history about Mother's Day. Mother's Day, a lot of people believe, was really started to celebrate mothers, and to some degree that's true. There was a Philadelphia activist, Anna Jarvis, who on May 10th, 1908, she kind of pioneered the first, what we talk about as being idea of Mother's Day, this idea of Mother's Day. And then in 1914, President Woodrow Wilson signed it as a proclamation declaring the second Sunday in May to be a Mother's Day holiday, a public expression of love and reverence for the mothers of our country. But that, I do not believe, is the spiritual foundation of the beginnings of Mother's Day. The spiritual foundations are before that in our country. There was a Mother's Day proclamation made by Julia Ward Howe in Boston in 1870. Marianne Williamson references this proclamation and references that the consciousness of the first Mother's Day energy was really about the coming together of mothers from the South and the North who had lost their sons during the Civil War. Joining together these mothers who had lost their sons and trying to inspire women to take a stand for peace, to inspire women to take a stand for life, to inspire women's consciousness, that divine feminine consciousness, to reign over all activities, all global energies, all countries. So we share with you Julia Howe's Mother's Day proclamation.
In this century of light, the ambition of rulers has been allowed to barter the dear interests of domestic life for the bloody exchanges of the battlefield. Thus men have done, thus men will do. But women need no longer be made a party to proceedings which fill the globe with grief and horror. Despite the assumptions of physical force, the mother has a sacred and commanding word to say to the sons who owe their life to her suffering. That word should now be heard and answered to as never before. Arise then, Christian women of this day. Arise, all women who have hearts, whether your baptism be that of water or of tears. Say firmly, we will not have great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our husbands shall not come to us reeking of carnage for caresses and applause. Our sons shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we've been able to teach them of charity, mercy, and patience. We, women of one country, will be too tender to those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own. It says, disarm, disarm. The sword of murder is not the balance of justice. Blood does not wipe out dishonor, nor violence vindicate possession. As men have often mistaken the plow and the anvil at the summons of war, let women now leave all that may be left of home for a great and earnest day of counsel. Let them meet first as women, to bewail and commemorate the dead. Let them then solemnly take counsel with each other as to the means whereby the great human family can live in peace, man as the brother of man, each bearing after his own kind the sacred impress, not of Caesar, but of God. In the name of womanhood and of humanity, I earnestly ask that a general council of women, without limit of nationality, be appointed and held at some place deemed most convenient, and at the earliest period consistent with its objects, to promote the alliance of the different nationalities, the amicable settlement of international questions, the great and general interests of peace. Julia Ward Howe, Boston, 1870.
That's what the divine feminine looks like in humanity. You can see a little bit of irony there, right? That later on, Mother's Day was celebrated as being this day all about mothers, to celebrate the mother, woohoo the mother, woohoo the mother. But isn't it so befitting of the true mother, the divine mother, that it goes back to that? It goes back to the mother saying, please reserve the sacredness of life. Please preserve the sacredness of life. Please honor the sacredness of life. Please save the sacredness of life. That's a Mother's Day that I like to celebrate. How else does this look when it presses through today as you, as me, as humanity, the divine feminine? Well, former President Jimmy Carter wrote an article that was released quite some time ago, and later he released a book called A Call to Action: Women, Religion, Violence, and Power. So get comfortable, because this is so powerful that I'm going to share most of it. In this article, referenced at womenspress.org, Jimmy Carter discusses losing my religion for equality. Losing my religion for equality. He says, I have been a practicing Christian all my life and a deacon and Bible teacher for many years. My faith is a source of strength and comfort to me, as religious beliefs are to hundreds of millions of people around the world. So my decision to sever my ties with the Southern Baptist Convention after 6 decades was painful and difficult. He goes on to say, it was, however, an unavoidable decision when the convention's leader, quoting a few carefully selected Bible verses and claiming that Eve was created second to Adam and was responsible for original sin, ordained that women must be subservient to their husbands and prohibited from serving as deacons, pastors, or chaplains in the military service. To this view that women are somehow inferior to men is not restricted to one religion or belief. Women are prevented from playing a full and equal role in many faiths. Nor tragically does its influence stop at the walls of the church, the mosque, the synagogue, or the temple. This discrimination, unjustifiably attributed to a higher authority, has provided a reason or excuse for the deprivation of women's equal rights across the world for centuries. He goes on to say, it also costs many millions of girls and women control over their own bodies and lives and continues to deny them fair access to education, health, employment, and influence within their own communities. The impact of this religious belief touches every aspect of our lives. They explain why in many countries boys are educated before girls, why girls are told when and whom they must marry, why many face enormous and unacceptable risks in pregnancy and childbirth because their basic health needs are not met. In some Islamic nations, women are restricted in their movements, punished for permitting the exposure of an arm or an ankle, deprived of education, prohibited from driving a car, or competing with men for a job. If a woman is raped, she is often severely punished as the guilty party in the crime. The same discriminatory thinking lies behind the continuing gender gap in pay and why there are so few women in office in the West. The root of this prejudice lies deep in our histories, but its impact is felt every day. It is not women and girls alone who suffer. It damages all of us. It damages all of us. The evidence shows that investing in women and girls delivers major benefits for society. He goes on to say it is simply self-defeating for any community to discriminate against half its population. We need to challenge these self-serving, outdated attitudes and practices. As we are seeing in Iran, where women are at the forefront of the battle for democracy and freedom, I understand, however, why many political leaders can be reluctant about stepping into this minefield. Religion and tradition are powerful and sensitive areas to challenge. But my fellow elders and I, who come from many faiths and backgrounds, this is my favorite part, no longer need to worry about winning votes or avoiding controversy. And we are deeply committed to challenging injustice wherever we see it. The elders are an independent group of eminent global leaders brought together by former South African President Nelson Mandela, who offered their influence and experience to support peace building, help address major causes of human suffering, and promote the interests of humanity. Essentially, that is a group that includes President Jimmy Carter and includes Nelson Mandela that sourced a group to heal through the divine feminine. He goes on to say this statement, the group has created this statement, the justification of discrimination against women and girls on grounds of religion or tradition as if it were prescribed by a higher authority is unacceptable. We are calling on all leaders to challenge and change the harmful teachings and practices, no matter how ingrained, which justify discrimination against women. We ask in particular that leaders of all religion have the courage to acknowledge and emphasize the positive messages of dignity and equality that all the world's major faiths share. He goes on to say, during the years of the early Christian church, women served as deacons, priests, bishops, apostles, teachers, and prophets. It wasn't until the 4th century that dominant Christian leaders, all men, twisted and distorted holy scriptures to perpetuate their ascendant positions within the religious hierarchy. The truth is that male religious leaders have and still have an option to interpret holy teachings, either to exalt or subjugate women. They have, for their own selfish ends, overwhelmingly chosen the latter. Their continuing choice provides the foundation or justification for much of the pervasive persecution and abuse of women throughout the world. This is in clear violation, not just of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but also the teachings of Jesus Christ, the Apostle Paul, Moses, and the prophets, Muhammad, and the founders of other great religions, all of whom have called for the proper and equitable treatment of all the children of God. It is time that we had the courage to challenge these views. Former President Jimmy Carter. That is what the divine feminine in action through humanity looks like. That's what it looks like today. So I invite you to take a deep breath. And if you choose to close your eyes for this poem by Linda Ruther, it's from her blog. She's a blogger, and she shared this in her message, "You Are Enough." And the great mother said, "Come, my child, and give me all that you are. I am not afraid of your strength and darkness or your fear and pain. Give me your tears. They will be my rushing rivers and roaring oceans. Give me your rage. It will erupt into my molten volcanoes and rolling thunder. Give me your tired spirit. I will lay it to rest in my soft meadows. Give me your hopes and dreams. I will plant a field of sunflowers and an arch of rainbows in the sky. You are not too much for me. My arms and heart welcome your true fullness. There is room in my world for all of you, all that you are. I will cradle you in the boughs of my ancient redwoods and in the valley of my gentle rolling hills. My soft winds will sing you lullabies and soothe your burdened heart. Release your deep pain. You are not alone, and you have never been alone. We allow those words to speak to the void that has been left to humanity, left in men and left in women, because of this denial or this battle of the energies that are one and harmonious, the energies that are life energies to be embodied. Ernest Holmes says we all have invisible forces at our disposal, whether or not we know it. However, once we awaken to them, we can learn how to use them. It is said that the average man only draws about 10% of his potential, and that the other 90% is dormant and seldom used. It's time to use all of our potential. It's time to bring the fullness of our hearts into humanity and to bring heaven closer to earth. E.V. Ingram, one of the early New Thought spiritual teachers, talks about the fourth dimension and working in the fourth dimension. He says, the important fact for us is not to attempt to understand these dimensions in their entirety, but to understand that we have within ourselves a greater capacity, an infinitely greater magnitude that stretches back to infinity itself, that we can form new combinations, rearrange the three-dimensional world, and thereby continue indefinitely to develop new possibilities from an inexhaustible storehouse of elements. This is our charge. Amen. All women. Namaste.